Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Conveyancing. Today I want to have a chat to you about buying property at auction. My aim for this video is to explain the best way buyers can prepare themselves before attending and buying a property at auction. And to help me with this, I'll be having a chat with REI Novice Auctioneer Champion, Josh Logan-Pye from Belle Property. Some questions I'll be covering today with him are: what do the buyers need to do before bidding at auction? What are some of the common mistakes made by bidders and how to avoid them? And then on top of that, some tips and tricks you can use on auction day that may actually help you win. So let's get into it. G'day Josh, thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, no problem.
Welcome to to another segment of Coffee and Conveyancing.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Mate, why I've dragged you in here is that I want to run through a scenario of how people get prepared for auctions.
Yep.
A lot of people will turn up to an auction but not know where to start, what they should have done before they actually turn up. You are Junior Auctioneer of the Year, so so I thought, mate, you might be the person to ask.
Yep.
And if you could look at this from a point of view as if you were sending your mum or your best mate to the auction. What would be the steps you'd take them through? So with that in mind, where would you send them to start? So that you've got the phone call, thinking of buying this property at auction.
Yep.
What would you suggest to them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always you want to give everybody the best advice possible. So look, first thing would be: have you got your finance in order? Have you spoken to your bank, your financial institution, broker, things like that? Yep. And to potentially get the ball rolling. And then my next question is, if they do say yes, we're ready to go, have you got a conveyancer or solicitor that you're happy that you've spoken to, you discuss and start discussing the contract and things like that?
Fantastic. So finance side of things, obviously they've got to get loan approval. There's two parts. There's what they call pre-approval and unconditional approval. Yep. It's a little bit different with an auction in that as soon as the hammer goes down, they're committed to the purchase.
Correct.
Won't get into that yet, but talk more about finance. Yep. Does the bank organise valuations? What's your experience there? Do they look at the finances and then send in a valuer?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's a little bit different sometimes. Sometimes we will get a bank come out, pre-auction valuation. We do see that. We normally see that about anywhere from 7 to 10 days prior to the auction. Yep. And then if they haven't had that and the people turn up and they are successful and they do purchase, we'll see a valuation post-auction after the exchange contracts have happened.
Great. Obviously, I'm experienced in the conveyancing side of things.
Yeah.
But you would suggest they go and talk to a conveyancer, an expert lawyer or conveyancer in property law.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you usually see highlighted in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, settlement times, people might have a difference. So, if you see on the front page, it might say, standard 42 days. They might need an extended settlement. They might need a quicker settlement. Deposits, whether they can pay 5%, 10% deposit bonds, electronic funds transfer, things like that. And the inclusions list is another thing too. Some people, might request some other inclusions or may not want some certain items. And with the pool, making sure that pool compliance is in. And things like that, just checking over those sort of things, and they're the questions that I'd be saying to them. Go have a chat to your conveyancer solicitor. Perfect. Get them answered.
Great. And that obviously is something we would talk to them about. Go through that with, again, using your friend or your mum. Yeah. We'd have a chat to them about that. All those bits and pieces. Just so people are aware. Watching this video, we would then approach the vendor solicitor or conveyancer to iron out all those bits and pieces, because it becomes specific for that bidder. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And you would then know, from a conveyancing point of view again, we would obviously notify you as the auctioneer to say, our buyer has these conditions. So if they're successful, that's what it'll be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, going back to deposit, you mentioned a few things, whether 10%, 5% deposit bonds and things like that. Yeah. Most contracts are 10%, aren't they?
Yeah, correct. So, most contracts will call for that 10% on the front page. So we are seeing that some people in this sort of market at the moment, first home buyers or second home buyers or interim or anything like that, might come up with a 5%, do request for a 5% deposit. It's not uncommon, it does happen, but those sort of amendments prior to registration need to be sorted, and that's where you guys come in.
Yep, absolutely.
And have the chat to the listing agent, and then also the the vendor's sort of solicitor or conveyancer and getting those amendments sorted out.
Great. A lot of people don't know about deposit bonds.
Yep.
So can we really quickly cover the deposit bond side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So deposit bond is essentially a bank guarantee that you'll have to pay to obtain that deposit bond. It's not always acceptable. I mean, majority of times it is, but you just want to make confirmation that you can make payment by a deposit bond. And again, getting your legal representative prior to registration to make sure that, yes, if you are successful, you can pay by the deposit bond.
So most deposit bonds will come in, my experience from what I've seen for clients, is if they've sold a property, but it hasn't settled yet.
Yes.
So they then use that as the guarantee to insurance for the deposit will be paid.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've got any more questions about that, then have a chat to your conveyancer or ourselves and we can highlight exactly what a deposit bond is. Going back to my cheat notes here, I want to talk about if again, using the example, your mother or your best mate turns up for the auction. If your best mate's married, okay, so and he turns up for the auction, and his wife isn't there, she might be working or whatever, how do we approach that situation? He's got her right to bid, but is there paperwork involved? How can he do that?
Yeah, look, absolutely. A verbal agreement amongst yourselves isn't going to cover it. For sure, that has happened on plenty of times. So please ensure.
She said it's okay.
Definitely not. So look, if you do know that you might be working on the Saturday and your partner or spouse or something's not going to be there, make contact with the agent. Say, I'd like to register. I'd like to pre-register for the auction, of course. My wife's not going to be there. I'm going to be there, and then the agent will get you to sign and go through an authority to bid on behalf of somebody else. And it doesn't take too long, but you don't want to be wasting your time running around on Saturday and potentially miss out on the property because your wife might be in a meeting or partner or something like that, and you can't get a hold of her via telephone. So if that's the case, or bidding by telephone is another option as well.
Okay.
So if that's the case, you're not going to be there. Please ensure that you do speak to the agent prior, and we can get that sort of paperwork sorted. I had one on Saturday. The auction was starting at 4:15, and we got a phone call around 3:30 from somebody who wanted to bid by telephone. So we can do it. Luckily, we've got the facilities to do it, but just it is a bit of a process. So just make sure that you're ready to go prior. Yeah.
So basically, if you are looking at, there's a possibility the other party might not be there. Get it organised early.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Be prepared with it. The other side of it is obviously if you're buying in a company name, then you need all the documents and bits and pieces required for that.
Absolutely as well. So look, if you've got a couple of partners, or let's say it's just yourself and your wife, but you're directors of a company, you need to make sure that we've got the proper documentation for them. Both parties have signed, registered. We do have their information on a company letterhead stating that they do give permission for this person to bid on their behalf. But again, if you're going to do that, it's really critical that you do speak to the agent before the auction, and I'm talking about a day or 2 days prior, just to make sure that you are in a situation to bid on the day and move forward from there.
And from the conveyancing point of view, if we're dealing with a client in that situation, we'll then check with their accountants to make sure everything's right as well. But again, if we're not available on the Saturday, they're going to be in a pickle.
The other thing I just remembered too there, Justin, sometimes it might be a first home buyer that turns up to the property, a young couple, and they get the jitters, and then mum or dad might step in and say, look, I'll do the bidding. If that's the case, they've still got to register to bid on your behalf.
Oh, right.
So if you are registered, is a requirement you're holding up the bidder's card up each and every time. But look, if dad jumps in and grabs the bidder's card and goes like that, the auctioneer can't accept his bid.
Right, okay.
So if that's the case, they have to, they're going to have to bid on your behalf. Again, we have to get that paperwork sorted.
So that gets fixed up. So using that scenario, I can't turn up with my wife, so I send my mum and dad. They register on my behalf, or something to that effect.
On your and your wife's behalf, they can do that. But again, it's just a bit of a process. But if just have a chat to the agent leading up to it, and they'll look after you.
So registration side, is that, what happens? Do I have to go searching for an agent to register? Is there a table? What's the setup?
Absolutely. Look, we do like to get our registrations done prior to the auction, because sometimes on the day it can be busy, there can be a lot of activity crowded around the registration table. You will see sort of the signage floating around. Speak to an agent, they'll point in the right direction. So you don't want to be running around and not having your documentation sorted. So most common method, we get people's driver's license. If it's going just in yourself or yourself and your wife, both driver's license required. And do make sure that your current address is on there, even though you might have moved. Make sure you got a sticker on the back.
Okay.
Things like that. So that's it. We go through the process of registration. We'll go through a bit of the terms and conditions, and you'll sign off, and you'll be given a bit of information.
Well, before I buy a property though, is it wise to do a pest and building report? Is it something that the buyer has to do? Is it something that the vendor provides at the auction, or what's the scenario there?
Yeah, look, so we've taken it upon ourselves to, as a company and as part of the team as well, is that we are doing the pest and building report prior to auction. The vendor is doing that. It's not done by anybody associated with us. It's done by an independent company, and we just keep things separate. But it's buyers are more than welcome to get one prior. It does happen. People might have a friend or a family member or something that is in the industry to come through. So we will facilitate that. But look, it's just a report that someone, if they do turn up on the day, because they've never seen the property before, they'll turn up on the day. It has happened plenty of times. They read the contract, they read the pest and building report, gives them a little bit of confidence around it. They registered bid and then they have purchased the property before. So we will supply one, but you're more than welcome to get your own one.
So really, it's peace of mind for the buyer, really,
Absolutely,
isn't it? Yeah. So you and I aren't going to live in it. They will be. So make sure they're happy with it.
Peace of mind. Ensure that if there's not one done on it, get one done on it.
Yep, great. Sometimes, you mentioned before about pools and certification. In order to sell a property, what should the buyer be looking for within that contract in regards to pool certification?
Yeah, absolutely. It's normally towards the back of the contract. It's pool compliance. It will allow us to say compliant or non-compliant. You want to be looking for the compliant part.
Right, okay. But they can sell it non-compliant, right?
Yeah, correct. It's just stipulated in the contract. So be aware, and from the conveyancing side, they'll tell you everything that you need to know. But if you turn up on the day and for some reason you can't get a hold of Justin, I know that I can call you any time on a Saturday, which is great. I'll disturb your footy time, but just going over the back page, going through it, just reading those questions. If you are concerned, maybe speak to the agent there or the auctioneer, and they should be able to guide you.
So the agents will have an idea. The agents on the day will have an idea.
We'll have an idea, but again,
all those sort of things.
Correct. And just if you want to ask them or the auctioneer there just at the time, they'll be able to help you in the right direction.
Beautiful. Bidding on, I guess this is a bit of vendor bids. I often hear mentioned. Is that legal in New South Wales, or?
Yeah, look, so the vendors are entitled to one bid. The auctioneer can place one bid on behalf of the seller, which is called a vendor bid. The auctioneer will announce it. A vendor bid of X figure. It's essentially just one bid on behalf of the seller that the auctioneer can make. And it is, it might not get used. They might not use it. They may use it. So it really comes down to what's happening on the day. But you will hear the auctioneer announce a vendor bid.
Right, and that is totally legal, because I've had that from clients before saying, well, what if they do this? Is that legal in New South Wales? But obviously it is.
Yeah, they're allowed to place the bid,
Great. All right, is there anything that any other advice that I might have missed that you would give to your mate or your mum? Yeah,
absolutely. Look, it's be prepared for the day. Make sure that, especially, if you're paying by electronic funds transfer, make sure that your bank will allow you to send that amount on the day. Say if you're buying a home and it's $500,000, it's a 10% deposit of $50,000. You might have the $50,000 or $60,000 sitting in your account, but your daily limit might be $20,000. So ring the bank, see if you can get it open prior to Saturday. I can't tell you how many times people turn up on the day and show me how much money is in the account, but their daily limit's not there. So do that, because the banks are shut on Saturday. Ensure that.
And they're usually prepared to do that too. If you explain to the bank, with the experience I've had with clients, explain to the bank that I'm buying a property, I'll need 10%. I haven't heard anybody complain about the bank not allowing them.
Exactly right. But so sometimes if you can't, maybe if that's the certain savings account that you do have, and you can only do the 25, let the agent know prior to registration that if I am successful today, I can make X amount of payment today, and then the remainder payment on Monday. Do it leading up to the auction so your conveyancer can send it over and get approval. You can do it on the day, but it can get a little bit complicated, so please just ensure that you get it done prior. And the other thing too, a couple other things, have a different number in your mind.
Okay.
You know, so most people will go in there, again, if the property is worth 500,000, you know, they've got a price guide of maybe 500,000 in mind, they might go 500,000,000. You know, maybe go to that 502,750 or 505,750 or something a little bit different, just so, you know, you might have that little point of difference and beat your competition on the day.
Yep.
But yeah, have a strategy, have confidence, and enjoy the process.
Should they be the first one to open the bidding? Should they hold back? What are you going to tell them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, from a sort of standing up there and calling for the bids on the auctioneer sort of side, you want to have that first bid underway and everything like that. But you know, I could be selfish and say that, but you want, you know, it asserts dominance too. You know, some people's strategies might be a little bit different. They might sit back and they might wait. They might wait for the auctioneer to go first, second or third. But you can really throw people out. So go in there, go with a strong bid, get in there, show a bit of confidence, you know, and enjoy the process.
Okay, right. Well, there's probably some really good tips. I like the idea of the taking off the zeros. Look, so just to recap, for your mate or your mum, you're going to tell her, organise finance.
Yeah.
Yep. Have a chat to the conveyancer and get them the contract so they can review that for you.
Yeah.
Get that done early. Sounds like it's just a lot of preparation prior to the auction.
Yeah.
Get that reviewed. The conveyancer can then organise if there's 5% deposits, inclusions, exclusions, pool certs, all those sort of things.
Yeah.
We'll get onto those. Then it's a matter of obviously inspecting the property to see that they're happy with it in regards to pest and build, all those sort of things. Registration and who's going to bid on the day, are both couples going to be there? Yeah. All those sort of things. But realistically, if they're going to be talking to you at the open prior to the auction the week before, is it how often is it open for? Like, are we talking 3 opens prior, a week before, day of?
Look, absolutely. So, you know, a standard auction campaign is 4 weeks.
Yep.
Most of the time we will have a midweek inspection, and obviously the Saturday inspection, sometimes if required, maybe a Sunday. So we do look for a minimum of sort of 8 inspections prior to the auction. Yep. If you can't make any of those inspections, we will try to facilitate a private one, because sometimes, you know, people with work commitments, shift work, things like that, we do get that happen a lot, and especially now with COVID. Things like that. So, yeah, you'll look to have those sort of inspections, and if you can't make it, you know, reach out to the agent and see if you can get in and go from there.
Perfect. One last thing before we finish up, I just want to talk about the cooling off periods with an auction.
Yep.
I think it's probably very important because you've experienced where people will turn up to an auction on the day. Yeah. And some of them will think that they can go and talk to their conveyancer after they've won. Yeah. But really, if you can lead us through the cooling off period with an auction is 0. You buy it on the day, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to be aware of that. That's also, you know, prior to registration, we will discuss that with the buyers and people who are registering if they've never seen the property before. Yep. So us as agents and things like that, we will have an idea of, you know, we've met people enough, we know who they are, things like that. You know, if they've never come through, we always want to pull them aside and have a bit of a chat. You know, are you aware that if you are successful today, a 10% deposit is required and there is no cool off period? You know, once the hammer comes down, you are the highest bidder and we're above reserve. You know, you're the successful purchaser and you've got the keys. So just ensuring like that. Most people understand. You never assume, and you just want to try and guide everybody down the right path.
And again, it comes back to our main theme, which is prepare. Be prepared. Prior to the actual auction and expect that you're going to get it. Yeah, absolutely. And then everything should run smoothly.
Yeah, look, absolutely. But look, everybody, auctions, you know, from a buyer's side, it's the most transparent way to buy a property. You're going to know where the market is, you're going to know where you are, and you know, and enjoy the process. It's a great time.
It's good fun, especially if you're the winner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get the keys. It's always the celebratory drinks afterwards and the champagne popping.
And the photo with the sticker going on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, mate, thank you very, very much for that information. Been very informative. I'm sure our clients and those looking at our website will get a lot from that. Yeah. So thank you very much for coming in.
Appreciate it.
If you have any further questions at all, please feel free to give us a call and we can lead you through and answer any questions you might have. Thanks again.